The storm had not yet broken, but the sky warned that it would. Dark clouds pressed low over the small Colorado town, heavy and trembling, as if the whole world were holding its breath. I was standing alone in the church parking lot, my hands buried in my jacket pockets, trying to convince myself I wasn't waiting for her. But then I heard footsteps behind me, light but trembling, and when I turned, I saw Claire, her face pale, her eyes shining with fear, hope, and something far heavier. She stepped closer, placed a shaking hand on her stomach, and whispered words that froze the air around me. She said the baby in her belly was mine, that I was going to be a father. And before I even understood what I was saying, I heard my own voice asking her if that meant we would get married. The world felt like it split open in that moment, not in disaster, but in the terrifying possibility of something real, something life-changing. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Everything after that moment felt unreal, as if I were walking through water, slow, heavy, conscious of every sound and breath. Claire and I weren't a couple. We had been friends since high school, drifting in and out of each other's circles, comforting each other through breakups, celebrating promotions, laughing over cheap pizza on Friday nights. She had always been the steady one, warm, patient, the voice of reason whenever my life fell apart. But 3 months earlier, after her grandmother's funeral, when she had cried into my shoulder and I had driven her home through a night as cold as loneliness itself, one moment of comfort had turned into something deeper, something neither of us talked about afterward. We both pretended nothing had happened, as if silence could rewrite reality. But reality has a way of resurfacing, and now it stood before me, wrapped in fear, wrapped in possibility. My heart pounded as she told me she hadn't meant to burden me, that she could raise the baby alone if I didn't want to be involved, that she understood I had plans, my job in Denver, the apartment I was about to sign for, the life I thought I was already building. But all I could think about was the night she had leaned into me, her fingers gripping my shirt, her tears soaking my collar, and how fiercely I had wanted to protect her. That instinct didn't vanish now. In fact, it grew stronger, swallowing the panic that clawed at my chest. I told her I didn't want her to do it alone, that if there was a child, my child, we would face this together, even if we didn't yet know what that meant. The following weeks were a blur of doctor appointments, difficult conversations, and sleepless nights. I moved back into my old room at my brother's place, saving money, trying to figure out how to be something I had never expected to become so soon. Claire, meanwhile, fought her own battles. Her parents were disappointed, her coworkers whispered, and she felt responsible for the life growing inside her in a way I couldn't fully comprehend. She told me once, while we sat on a park bench watching families pass by, that pregnancy wasn't just physical, it was emotional, spiritual, terrifying. She felt everything at once, joy, guilt, fear, love. But she never blamed me. She never asked me for anything. Which made me want to give her everything. Still, the question I had blurted in the parking lot, will we get married, hung between us. Not as pressure, but as a trembling possibility. I didn't want her to feel trapped. But I also didn't want to raise a child in uncertainty. I wanted to be there for every moment, every appointment, every late-night craving and early morning worry. And slowly, as the leaves turned from green to gold, I realized something I had been blind to for years: I loved her. I always had, quietly, stubbornly, in the hidden spaces of friendship neither of us dared examine. The baby didn't create that love, it only uncovered it. One evening, about 5 months into her pregnancy, she called me sobbing. The baby wasn't moving as much as before, and she was terrified something was wrong. I drove faster than I ever had in my life, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. At the hospital, I held her hand while the doctor checked the heartbeat, and when the steady, strong rhythm filled the room, she collapsed into me, crying into my chest just like the night everything changed. I wrapped my arms around her, realizing that this, being here, being hers, being theirs, felt like the most natural thing in the world. After that night, something shifted. She let herself lean on me more. I found myself wanting, not out of obligation but out of love, to build a life with her. We spent afternoons looking at baby clothes, arguing about names, laughing at the way she craved pickles and ice cream at 2 a.m. One evening, while painting the nursery in her small townhouse in Fort Collins, she stepped back, wiped paint off her cheek, and looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. It wasn't fear anymore. It wasn't uncertainty. It was trust. Deep, quiet trust. Near the end of the pregnancy, I took her to the lake where we used to sit during high school, a place where we dreamed about futures that seemed far away then. The water was calm, reflecting the orange glow of the setting sun. She stood beside me, her belly full and round with the child who had changed everything, and I told her that my question months ago hadn't been because I felt stuck, it was because I wanted to choose her. I wanted to choose our baby. I wanted to choose the life that somehow, unexpectedly, had become the one I hoped for most. She cried softly, leaning into me, telling me she never wanted me to feel forced into anything. And I promised her I wasn't. I told her I loved her. Truly. Deeply. Honestly. And when she whispered that she loved me too, everything inside me settled, like a storm finally ending. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know. Before the ending, please comment below, love finds a way. 2 weeks later, our son came into the world, tiny, wrinkled, pink, and perfect. I held him in my arms, feeling something break open inside me, something soft and fierce all at once. Claire looked at us through tired eyes, glowing with the quiet strength I had always admired. In that moment, I knew the truth, life hadn't gone the way I planned, but it had gone the way it needed to. And as I leaned down, kissed her forehead, and whispered that I was ready for everything, marriage, fatherhood, love, I realized the greatest stories aren't the ones we expect. They're the ones we grow into, one heartbeat at a time.